So welcome again. This is the OpenEXO EXOS reveal for October 19th, 2020. So thanks folks for joining. My name is Eric Patel. I'm with Boston EXO and also a member of the OpenEXO Economy Core team. So it's our pleasure to bring this reveal, aka webinar, to you today. And for those of you that may be watching this later, hope that you enjoy it as well. So this is really going to be less about me talking, I hope, as we're going to kind of quickly go through a bunch of slides right now, but more about you doing, right? Just like what we've done with other kind of reveals with our sister economy, Rutanio, and their token Rutas. This is really about hands-on. This is about doing, right? So which is why I hope you're here in the first place. And so again, if you have any questions or comments really throughout this presentation, feel free to ask. You can take yourselves off of mute. You can drop it in the chat and we'll try to get to them certainly when we can. This is about doing, right? We are a community of doers. So let's go ahead and do. So with that, I just want to give you a little overview of the agenda for today. And it's just a little bit about the exponential organization economy, which I think most of you are familiar with. Some of you, of course, may be new to this economy. So we're going to give you a little bit of an overview. Then, of course, we'll eventually make our way over to the cryptocurrency, right? The EXOS token. And I'll try to help you with some terminology and definitions and that kind of stuff. This is a learning curve really for many of us. A lot of us are sort of new to the community, much less blockchain and cryptocurrencies and tokens. And then, of course, we'll get to the doing part towards the end where you'll get a chance to download your digital wallet, and I'll try to get some EXOS over to you. So again, the chat is open. Feel free to use that, for your questions, your comments. I'll try to get to them when I can. We do have members of the Economy Core team with us today. So hello to Kevin and Vanessa, and thanks for joining. And if you guys, again, have any other things to add, please do. I'll try to pause every now and then so folks can hopefully get a word in, and then we'll kind of go from there. So, all right, so first up is the EXO economy, right? So this is where we're at, right? This is the environment that we play in. And anybody who is part of this community, those of you who are part of the OpenEXO community, hopefully know about the EXO economy. And really, this is kind of a global network, if you will, here. And it's all based on this token, right, which we'll talk about in a minute. So you're going to see a lot of terms in this presentation, which I hope we're going to get to, defining at some point. I do have separate slides for some other terms. So if you see something like, blockchain, and you're like, okay, what's that? I don't know what that is. Don't worry. I do have some slides on that later. So try to stick with me as best you can. And again, if you have comments or questions, again, please go ahead and put it in the chat or take yourselves off the mute. So the EXOS, as I think you all know, and hopefully will know soon enough, is our unit of value, right? This is our native digital asset. And it's really used as a utility token. And there are a couple of different kinds of token within the OpenEXO marketplace. And I do have hot links, which I'll show you probably towards the end of this presentation. I think I'm going to keep the slides up first. We'll kind of go through the slides. I'll take a break. I'll show you some of the live sites like exos.openexo.com and economy.openexo.com and a few other places, right? So we'll get to that. So we'll do kind of like the static presentation for now, and then we'll kind of do more of the hands-on a little bit later. And, we do have members, again, from across the world, really. For those of you that are members at our community site, openexo.com, at last count, and I'm sure Kevin has an updated number for us, but we're probably north of about 6,700 members right now today and counting. It's growing pretty much every week and every month. So we're excited about all of you to join us on this journey. So again, just think about this as a kind of a co-op, right? A global co-op, this EXO economy. And our means of exchange, right? How we exchange value is through this EXOS token. And a lot of it happens just peer-to-peer, right? Sort of person to person. So you may have something that you're offering a service, maybe a product as well. And while there's no currency conversion per se for the EXOS token, it's really up to the members of the community, right? To be able to sort of decide on what that value is. We'll talk in a few minutes about how you actually can obtain, purchase, or receive EXOS tokens. And this is how you keep hold of those, and you include all those in a wallet, a digital wallet, of course, right? And that's one of the things we'll do towards the end of this presentation. So I have a few slides up here, mostly about just kind of setting the terminology straight, right? So you may hear of the coin term. We've talked a little bit about already about the token term. So they're actually both crypto, if you can believe it. I think though the popular one I think you all know is the Bitcoin, of course, right? Now, coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and a few others, they have their own blockchain. And I'll tell you what a blockchain is in a moment. But their blockchain is independent, and it's completely standalone, right? So it's unique, it's proprietary, if you will. There's kind of a halfway medium here called an altcoin, right? They're not sort of like the ones that you would find with like Bitcoin or Ethereum, but they are considered coins. And then lastly, we have tokens, which really we're talking about today, right? So these are cryptos as well. So they don't have their own blockchain, but they're sort of built on another one, right? You can see some examples here. Maybe some of these names are all new to you, but so, there is some definition here surrounding tokens, and you may see this other terminology used in conjunction with EXOS tokens, and that is a utility token. All right, so think of EXOS as a utility token. And again, this is a means to reimburse, all right, to pay others, right? So we're not talking about currency like money, like fiat currency, like dollars or euros. This is an alternative type of exchange here, right? But again, it does have value that really comes out of the community. So more specifically about the EXOS token, right, as I think you all know by now, this is a native digital asset, and it is cryptographic, as we just talked about. And it's used primarily at our platform, right, our community at openexo.com, although a lot of other businesses and vendors are starting to offer acceptance of payment terms in tokens, including EXOS. And the blockchain associated with EXOS, again, is public, right? So it's otherwise known as permissionless. We'll talk a little bit in a minute about blockchains. And I have a heat map I'll show you in a minute where you can start to see kind of like where there's a lot of activity with EXOS, with exchange, with community members buying and selling within the marketplace. And as we talked about before, there is no kind of set value to the token, right? It's determined by the marketplace, right? The private marketplace and the transactions that happen. And the EXOS Genesis block was mined 2.5 or so years ago in April of 2018. So you can go to heatmap.exos.to, and you can see here, you can adjust the scale, 5 days, a week, 30 days, etc. And you can see here, where EXOS are happening, right? Where are some of the hotspots? North America, South America, Europe, of course, and Asia, right? So within the openexo.com community, we have people literally around the world, right? And as many of you are. So it is being used, and it has been in use now for that whole time period that we just talked about. So a little bit about blockchain, because again, this is kind of super important. Like, what is blockchain? You hear this word a lot on their entire courses, online, paid, free, certificate programs, certifications that you can get within blockchain. So, if you don't already have this, especially if you work within IT, this is certainly becoming more and more popular and in demand, right? So a public blockchain, think of it as a ledger, right? So, okay, what's a ledger? Okay, many of you know what a database is, right? Microsoft Excel, for example, right? So think of this as kind of like a database, but there are some special attributes to that, right? So first of all, a blockchain is typically decentralized, right? So there's no third-party involvement here. It's also distributed, which is really key, right? So we're talking about this data, this information spread across multiple computers, which of course makes things like hacking and tampering quite difficult. And then when you add encryption on top of that, right? Now, even if you get the data, now you have to decrypt it, which could take a very, very long time, even if you're able to do that. There is the anonymous aspect of blockchain as well. And I think here's the real key thing here is that, once you've added data to the ledger, to the blockchain, it can't be messed with, which is really good. So with this topic we're talking about here with coins and cryptocurrency, you want to be able to have a record that's going to be unmodifiable. And again, the last point here is, again, data could be added or updated in real time via different consensus of the nodes, which are running the software within the network. So here's kind of a real world example here for you, right? So let's say Alice wants to send some money to Bob, right? In e-commerce transaction, for example, right? So we're going to represent that financial transaction online as a block, right? We're talking about blockchain, so think of it as a block. That block, which has all that data of, or the financial transaction, is now broadcasted to everything within the network, all right? And then the network itself will approve the transaction, right? The network will, not like one person or one node or whatever. It's the whole network will do this. And then that block, which again is that financial transaction, is now going to be added to the blockchain, right? So that's kind of where that whole notion of blockchain comes into play here. And at that point, the transaction is complete, right? So with all those attributes that we just talked about, hopefully you can start to see a little bit about the benefits of blockchain. There are a few consensus algorithms to keep in mind of, and the only reason why I want to bring this up now, and this gets a little technical, is in a moment I'm going to share with you two different kinds of wallets that you can download. One's called a cloud wallet, this is called a staking wallet. And so I wanted to at least give you some concept about staking and what that is, right? So the two, I guess, popular mechanisms of consensus in terms of the algorithm is either something called POW or POS, right? Proof of work or proof of stake. And I wanted to put this graphic here, as you can see here, some of the differences. So proof of work, from what I understand, kind of came out first. It's been used now for a while. Bitcoin is using it and all that. And I think some of the drawbacks of this particular consensus algorithm is it's kind of a contest, right? And it's based on sort of like how much computing power you have, which in energy, which is both good and bad, right? So you can see here how maybe there may be some unfair advantages here. But proof of stake is what we have here currently with EXOS. And this is a little different. This is a lot of people are thinking of this as being newer, a little bit more sustainable, et cetera. So you can see here some of the differences, if you will, between proof of stake versus proof of work. So when you hear the term staking, this is what we're talking about here with proof of stake. So just a few other technical notes here about proof of stake, right? So what is staking, right? So all we're doing here is just locking our assets, our crypto assets, right, to secure the network. And then you're getting a little bit of interest in doing so, right? So there's an advantage, a kind of a financial token, if you will, incentive for staking. And anybody who has a staking wallet, which you can as well within the OpenEXO community for EXOS, you can also stake as well, right? So you can see here, I added a few additional notes here about kind of what this is with staking. And it's something that, the OpenEXO community encourages, right? We all encourage staking. And again, you only do that if you have a staking wallet, which you can also download as well. All right. So now let's just talk just briefly here about how do you actually get EXOS, right? So typically, as I talked about earlier, it's through peer-to-peer, right? So you're offering a 1-hour consulting and somebody's going to pay you 500 EXOS, for example, right? So you're going to present to this buyer your digital wallet receiving address, which is a long string of numbers and characters, alphanumeric. And then usually what that person will do is send you just a quick test transaction, right? Just to make sure that it is indeed your wallet. Addresses do change and can and should, right, for additional security. So let's say this buyer will send you just one EXOS just to check. Did you get it? Yep, got it. Great. Let me send you the other 499, right? The other way that you can obtain EXOS is straight out purchase. Now, this is not for everybody, unfortunately. There is a prohibited countries list, and you may be surprised at some of the countries on this prohibited countries list. I would highly recommend you check this before you actually do this. That list, of course, is subject to change, and it does, right? There's no guarantee whether a country is going to be on or off a list, and there are some rules and regulations about why certain countries are on there. But if your country is not on that list, you can go right to the EXOS token portal at exos.openexo.com and purchase EXOS straight out. So when they were originally offered the the rate of purchase, if you will, was a little bit more. It's a little less now. And they take multiple payment options, of course, Bitcoin, ethers, and of course, straight out US dollars, right? So those are basically two different ways on how you would actually get EXOS. So I talked about the prohibited countries list. Here it is. At least this is the current edition here. And yes, you may have some surprises. All right, there's some countries on that list. So just double check that before you actually go ahead and purchase your own EXOS. And we're kind of wrapping things up here with a couple of the different types of wallets. I talked about the cloud wallet, which has kind of the name EXOS Electrum. This is the HD wallet, right? And it does store all of your EXOS on the blockchain. So now you know a little bit about blockchain, you know kind of what that means. It is recoverable with your seed, and I'll talk about what that is in a moment. And there is multi-signature capability. So let's say you're at a company and you have a company digital wallet and there's EXOS in there. And so you have a treasury like what we do at OpenEXO. You could have multiple people signed on to be able to approve transactions, right? So it's not one person that says, yes, I'm going to send this money. It could be 2 or 3 or whatever it is. So generally speaking, this is kind of the good wallet to start with. And this is what we're going to do today on the call. And then again, the second type of wallet, which is the EXOS QT wallet or the staking wallet, right? So you can see this looks totally different. And, as I mentioned, this is, if you do download this wallet, we do encourage you to stake, and you will have to do this at least today with this other additional wallet. But again, the balances will be the same based on your wallets. It's just, whether you're going to be helping us out with staking or not. All right, so I want to do a couple of just kind of live things with you now. So again, first up is the community, which hopefully you're all at openexo.com. And it's free to join, of course, if you haven't already. The community has a lot going on, even beyond crypto and tokens. It's pretty vibrant. Again, this is the place where we all pretty much hang out. And there is additional certifications that you could get within the EXO community. You can post jobs as well. You can just post other happenings as well. We have an events page, books, other resources. We have the OpenEXO Partner Program. So you definitely, this is probably the first place you want to go to if you're completely new to the community. And then next up, as I talked about, exos.openexo.com, and this is the portal where you can actually purchase EXOS. So you want to just kind of read through here. And again, you could join as a user individually or as a company. You can register that, right? So again, just don't forget about that prohibited countries list. And then probably the next one to mention is economy.openexo.com. And this is kind of your one-stop shopping, if you will. So again, if you're not purchasing EXOS, everything else you need is pretty much here. And we're going to go here in a second. So I would encourage folks to, if you don't already have your browsers up, we're going to kind of do this live. I already have the wallets installed on my system, of course, so I won't be able to do it necessarily completely live in real time, but hopefully the rest of you will. And I do have specific instructions as well, depending on whether you're on a Mac or on a Windows machine. But actually, before we kind of do that, I just want to check in with folks and see if anybody has any questions or comments, any feedback just yet before we kind of get into the actual wallet portion of the presentation. So if you do, you can drop it in the chat. You can just take yourself off of mute as well. Okay. All right, so let's do this. We're going to do this in real time. So I think the first slide that I had up here that we were looking at had to do with going to, seeing if you wanted to register on the site at exos.openexo.com. So this is where you could create an account at the token portal. So we could do this now, or we could do this later. Maybe we'll do this later, right? So let me just do another quick screen share again, and let me show you where we're headed with installing the cloud wallet. So this is the big thing we want to try to do today. So with a browser, you want to go to economy.openexo.com/tools. And it's good to do this now in real time. So if you run into things, we can help you because you know how it is. You may not even get to this, right? So open up a browser, hit this website. And then I'm going to walk you through the steps here as well. We're going to get the cloud wallet. We're not going to do the staking wallet today, so it's just the cloud wallet. And obviously, if you're on Mac, you want to follow the Mac instructions. If you're on Windows, you want to follow the Windows instruction. Just an important note here, always download your wallets as well as the nodes from the OpenEXO GitHub repository, right? So you don't have to worry about what GitHub is. That's where we essentially put everything. So if you would, just go there and let's take a look at downloading your wallet. All right, so here are the instructions here. This is the quick start guide. And if you have Windows, here are the instructions here on Windows. So if you have Mac, you're downloading the DMG file, of course. So again, you want to go to this page here, economy.openexo.com. Don't go anywhere else. And click on the right links here. Thanks, Vanessa. For Windows, if you have a Windows laptop, or Mac if you have a MacBook. All right, there are instructions here as well for Linux, for those of you that have that. And you want to make sure you download, the right executable for Windows and then the right DMG for Mac. So I'm going to give you a minute or two to do that. I'm going to just pause the recording for now, and then we'll come right back to it, to that now. So from the chat, there was a question about making the EXOS convertible into any other cryptocurrencies, or currencies like euros or dollars, and if so, what's the timing of that? So I don't really have an answer for that, but let me just open it up to Kevin or Vanessa, see if they have any insights into that, and if so, feel free to answer. If not, we'll have to get back to you, Fernando, with your question. Okay, yeah, Fernando, I'm not exactly too sure about that. So why don't we take that up as a follow-up item, which we can get back to you on that, all right?
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Other questions while we're waiting for folks to kind of download their files for Windows or Mac? Okay. So I'm on a Windows machine.
I have another question.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So I participated in some things a couple months ago now, and sent the invoice and everything, and apparently there were some issues and we haven't been paid yet. I don't know if you have any updates on that.
Fernando, I'll send you an email with including finance that can get sorted.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Thanks, Kevin. So since I'm on a Mac, obviously it's taking me to the Mac portion of GitHub here. So again, the wallet you want is the cloud wallet, which is EXOS Electrum. Current version is 3.3.9. Usually we generally recommend, the current version of the wallet. If not, you can certainly go to the previous one here as well. So just make sure you've got the right operating system. Again, if you're on Windows, you need 8 or higher. Mac OS X, you need 10, 12 or higher, which is Sierra. And there's some instructions for Linux as well. All right. So again, here, Windows, you're going to download the executable. So once you've downloaded that file, start to run it. And then I'm going to catch up with you on my static instructions here. Same thing with Mac, right? You want to open up the package once that downloads. So again, if you're watching this recording, you can always pause it and then move on. But I think for now, what we'll do is we will continue on here and take a look at some of the instructions here for the cloud wallet. So once you do that, you'll see here the installation wizard, right? So it's pretty much step by step. Again, you can always follow these instructions here at economy.openexo.com. And the name of the wallet is something to think about. If it's just going to be you, it's just going to be individually your wallet, and this won't be tied to, let's say, a company, an organization, whatever. You can keep the default name or put your name in there. If you're using a wallet for business, so for example, you could have your own personal digital wallet, which you could get EXOS from the mechanisms we talked about. If it's a business in which you're accepting EXOS, you may want to create a business wallet, a separate one here. So that's where you put that name in. The next step offers a few choices for wallets. Again, if it's just going to be you, if you're the only one that needs to approve and verify that you know, you're going to be sending stuff, you can just choose standard. If you are in a company and would like to have multiple people always kind of approve a transaction, then select multi-signature wallet. Okay, so this is the part here we were looking at earlier about the seed. And the seed is really nothing more than a series of words, right? So again, if this is a new wallet, first time wallet, typically you would select create a new seed. If you were restoring a wallet, so let's say you just got a new iMac for your birthday, and now you want to copy that same wallet and obviously all the EXOS over so you can use it on multiple physical devices like your iMac and your MacBook Pro, you would select here, I already have a seed, and then hopefully you wrote that down, which we will in a moment, and you just put those words in there, and then you can sort of restore the wallet. So next is the seed, which is automatically generated for you. And you guessed it, this is just a bunch of words, which you do want to write down. You do not want to write this down electronically anywhere, like in a Microsoft Word doc or on your iPhone notes or whatever. You want to write these down on paper. This is pretty secure, pretty confidential, pretty important, right? And obviously keep that piece of paper secure somewhere, right? And you'll see a bunch of words here. And it's randomly generated, so everybody's seed is going to be a little different. And it will ask you to, re-verify your seed. So that's another reason why you want to write them down, is you will have to retype them in again in the right order, of course. And so I'll give you a few seconds now to do that. If anybody has any questions while that's being done, feel free to take yourselves off of mute or drop it in the chat. And a reminder how important this is. As far as I know, there's kind of no way to restore or recover your wallet. Let's say there's something with an issue with your software, your hardware, computer failure, and that's the only wallet you had on that system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, EXOS Electrum will be continually updated, as will the staking wallet, EXOS QT. But without that seed, that's almost like your physical wallet in the real world, right? It's lost, right? Unless somebody returns it, which I don't think happens in this digital world. So, all right, moving on. There is an option here to encrypt or decrypt, right? That's up to you. So just a reminder here that the encryption is just going to encrypt the contents, of course, not the seed, right? But the encryption does, of course, protect your tokens, which you want. And your privacy, which again is also equally important as well. And you'll have a password here. If you do decide to encrypt it, same thing, write it down. And they are recommending, the usual, right? Upper and lower numbers, characters, at least 12 to 15 characters, right? Just regular good password sense here. So think about your password now, for those of you that are going to encrypt your wallet, and take care of those steps. Eventually, you'll see a step here for enabling the update check. All right, so this is making sure automatically that you're using the latest version of EXOS Electrum. You could decide here whether you want notifications sent your way, yes or no. Okay, and your installation for the wallet should finish up. And at this point, you're now ready to fund your wallet. And we can certainly do some of that now as well. All right, so continuing on here, what I want to do is just finish out the presentation here with sending and receiving, right? So once you have your EXOS Electrum wallet installed, you saw that interface here. It's pretty straightforward, right? So there's a whole typical top level file menu, and then there's different tabs here, right? Which is where you're going to be spending most of your time with the wallet. The history tab obviously will have date and time of your transactions of the send receives. The send portion is again where you want to be able to put in the receiver's digital wallet address. And you'll obviously be able to specify EXOS and send it to him. So as we discussed earlier on the call, it's a good idea and highly encouraged to do a test first before sending everything, right? Because the last thing you want to do is like send a whole bunch of EXOS somewhere and you realize that you were off by literally one digit and it's not the right wallet. So what we recommend is sending a test of one EXOS, right? And you can select it here on the amount, as you can see here in the screenshot. And the recipient or the receiver of your transaction should send you his or her digital wallet address, which they will pull down from the receive section. You go ahead and send the test EXOS of 1, and it will take X amount of minutes. And then I usually will recommend you wait to hear back from your receiver. Yes, I did receive your 1 EXOS. Great. And hopefully you haven't done anything with receiving address, because it should be exactly the same. And then go ahead and send the remaining balance. You could do it in parts. It doesn't have to be 2 transactions, but you know, this is typical. So again, with receiving is kind of the same thing here as well, is you click on the receiving tab, right? So if you're expecting a payment in EXOS, you will go to your wallet as a receiver, click the receiver tab, sorry, the receive tab, and send the receiving address. You can see there's a little copy button, that little blue and white button at the end of that receiving address box. Click that, it does a nice copy, open up an email, a WhatsApp message, however you want to get that information of your receiving address to your sender over to him or her. He'll get it, do the test. You will let him know that you got it, sends the rest, and you're good to go at that point. This is the history tab, as I talked about earlier, date, what the description is, amount, and balance. It's a good idea, especially if you're doing a lot of this, is to just go ahead and edit the description field for every transaction, right? I sent a test of 1 EXOS. I received 500 EXOS from this 1-hour consulting gig or whatever it is. Information here about sending EXOS. A few other notes here as well. Of course, it's a good idea to do a backup. And then when you do get to that point where you need to actually remove your wallet, there's some instructions here how to do that as well for Mac, Windows, and Linux. All right, and again, you can always reach out to the folks at OpenEXO at economy@openexo.com for any questions or comments. Feel free to reach out to me as well if you have any questions or comments. So anything else, Kevin, Vanessa, before we call it a reveal for today?
I would recommend for the members here to join the Discord channel, the Discord group. There's a lot of EXOS token holders that are always there to provide any support needed. There's no stupid questions in this area, so feel free to ask anything. We're here to help you, and stake away. Stake those EXOS. A few tips is good to, if you're going to send your address to receive some EXOS, create a new address, and I don't know, name it. If you're getting them from doing a job on a specific project, or you're getting some type of commission or a gift, just name that, I don't know, for accounting purposes is good. Eric mentioned that doing the test with a small amount, you don't have to do a whole EXOS. You can do half of it, a few cents of it, just to confirm that you got the right address. And yeah, hopefully you guys will be taking away with us and we'll make this economy grow.
Great. Thanks, Vanessa. Kevin, anything from your side?
Yeah, I mean, just once again to say thanks to you, Eric, for putting this together, for really driving this as part of the EXO Economy Core. And at the end of the day, as a global community of change makers, people who are looking to transform organizations, this is a great opportunity to leverage each other in a way that we can share. And so do get involved. The use cases for EXOS will continuously grow with time as more and more people get to understand it and how it works, etc. So it may still be pretty early, and Kent always talks about this as a 100-quarter project. So that's at least 25 years. And it really is, based off of economics from a sort of country level, right? And this is a real new economic way of thinking about value exchange. So thanks, Eric, really great. If you're watching this on the recording, get your wallet and find ways to earn EXOS. There's many ways, and you'll see many more coming in the future as well. So thanks, Eric.
Great. Yeah. Thanks again, Kevin. All right, folks, before we wrap up, any last minute other questions or comments from any of the participants? Okay, so one last thing I'll put in the chat, and that is a link to join us online at Discord. So Vanessa mentioned this online community that is another place where we all hang out in. So you will see when you join Discord, which is kind of like Slack to a certain extent. Of those of you familiar with that kind of online communication tool, Discord is similar to that. So the link in the chat is to the Discord community for EXO Economy, right? It's free to join, of course. And so if you're already familiar with tools like Slack, I think you'll find Discord to be equally enjoyable. So, all right, folks, I think we're in good shape. So thanks again, everybody. And thanks for those of you that are watching. Again, reach out with any questions, and I look forward to seeing you in the community. Thanks again.
Eric. Bye, everyone.